hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Welcome, everybody, to the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, welcoming you to another fine, fun-filled adventure in the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I'm trying to fix the on-screen chat. As usual, I forget to do that right before the show launches, but the good news is it only takes a second. Literally just the copying of a quick URL, and voila. There, should be working now. But yeah, who was it that just asked me that? Eddie asked if that was me singing. Yeah, that's me. That song's called Feline. I wrote that several years ago, I guess, and recorded it. But that's me singing. Good, bad, or otherwise. But some people love it. I've gotten both sides of it. Some people are like, oh, you need to get rid of that crap music. Which really cracks me up because, honest to God, full disclosure, it was never about showcasing my music. It was never just an arrogant move like, well, I'm going to put my music out there too. It was because all of the nightmares and headaches that I was getting from copyright issues. And you can hardly touch anything anymore on YouTube without having somebody throwing a flag your way. So I was just like, well, I know I can use this, and I'm proud of it and all, but I didn't think that the portal was going to be a vehicle to showcase the music, but it's worked out well, and I've heard a lot of wonderful compliments, so thank you from those of you out there. It is available for download if you want to check it out. BrentThomas.bandcamp.com. The description has the actual link, so if you're interested in it, or Tribes, the other music that I wrote and use on the show regularly, that is available there as well on that Bandcamp. So just throwing it out there. If you love it, you love it. If you don't, you don't, but I appreciate it. So, who's the girl? Well, the song, actually the voice of the woman in the song, not that this show is about the song, but the voice of the woman in the song was a good friend of mine. She was a model, a friend of mine that I had a long-standing friendship with online, and I asked her if she'd just record some moans and stuff. And so she did, and I told her the premise of the song. But all those songs are, I used to have a brilliant ability to just get in bad relationships, just poor relationships. So it was just one of those. Actually, the song is about kind of when you first fall in love. It's just that overwhelming, wow, it's amazing, and so on. So the girls are, if you're a guy and you fall in love, it's like the girl has the power over you, and it's just a statement. It's not necessarily really autobiographical, but it's just kind of about that time when you fall in love. So, but thanks for asking the questions. I appreciate that. Let's see, where are we at? Eddie says me too. I think you're responding to what I said about bad relationships, but anyway, welcome to the club. Thanks, Moog. Yeah, I hear you, brother. I used to have a real talent for picking people that were not good for me, and I was not good for them, and it's just, I found out little of me went a long way back then. So anyway, let's get on with the show. This is the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories from Beyond. This is our short format shows that deal with the paranormal, usually ghost stories, which is what we're covering tonight. What we usually cover most nights. But if you ever have any thing that you'd like to share, any experience, paranormal, or thoughts about the paranormal that you'd like to share, please feel free to call in 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500 is the number to call into the show if you want to be on live with me. This is live right now as it's happening, so you're seeing a live broadcast. But if you're not watching it, it's also recorded. So if you're watching it later than on Sunday night, then it's not live. So don't call. That phone line's only open when I'm here to answer it. So, but yeah, we got a great show lined up for you. I hope to keep you entertained, but I hope you all are ready because it's time for bed. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're off and running here at the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories from Beyond, Sunday edition. Let's see what I got here for you. I guess I can quit looking at me now that I know everything's working, everything's up, and people are talking. Lots of you guys are coming in. Looks like the crowds are showing up a little earlier now. That's really cool, guys. You guys are coming in a little early, which is great. Let's take a look at who's here if we can. I like to just give shout outs to everybody that's showing up. That's really cool. 5 Hazel, Beastly Bronco. Hey buddy, I got your request on Facebook. Thanks for sending that over. Beth Fierce is here. Dead Spider, Deborah Varner, D Singer, Eddie, I'm here. And it's nice to meet you, Eddie. I think this is the first time we've met. So, but welcome to the show. I appreciate you coming in. Fortnite 247 pinned your comment. Is that a username? That's pretty huge, but cool. Welcome to the show. Justin Langton, welcome to the show. Christina, welcome. MCAT, good to see you, brother. Many Musings is here. Good to see you. Mary, Mogion, Real Dill, hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Slavinky, good to see you. Weird Desk is here. How you doing? Woodbooger Farm, and, of course, The Duke. The Duke, he had a great show last night on TFRlive.com on his World Bigfoot Radio show on the TFR Live network. It was wonderful. Good job, brother. Great stories. That guy was, he'd seen a lot. It was a great show. So if you get a chance, head over to TFRlive.com/World Bigfoot Radio, all one word, and you can listen to Duke's radio shows. Excellent job, and it was great fun to listen to. So. All right, guys, so we are going to get underway here. I hope to keep you all spooked. Let me get back to the actual chat. So there we go. All right, so I got some spooky stuff lined up for you here. If I ever get to the right tab, I will figure that out. So the first story tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is coming from Alabama. I don't know. Did I read this one? No, I think I did. Never mind. I think I already read this one. Just forgot to close it. Let me pull up another one here. Oh, man, my computer just froze. How you guys doing? Just waiting on the computer. We'll get there. Nobody's in a rush, are they? Thank God. Okay, here we go. Well, I guess I had a few. I wonder why I jumped ahead so far. I must have jumped ahead due to one story tying into another one. So, all right. So the first story tonight is coming from Colorado, and it says this really happened to my sister, but she told me to write it on here. It was morning around 8. My mom runs an indoor daycare center, so many kids were running around screaming their heads off, and my sister Jessica was still asleep in her bedroom. Not too long ago, we had brought a mask from a garage sale, and it was white on one side and black on the other, and it had the same designs on both sides. Well, Jessica can sleep very long, so she slept in until about 10. My mom came in and woke her up and said, "Wake up, you bum. I need you to put Kaylee down for a nap." Well, Jessica got up and left the room. I need to mention that the position of the mask, picture a room. On the right side was my sister's bed, shoved into the corner. Her pillow was hitting the back wall, and the mask was on the right wall, facing the left. Our mom put Kaylee down and put down Kaylee and came out, and 10 minutes later, Jessica had to go back into her room to get some colored pencils. Well, she went in quietly, trying not to wake up Kaylee, and she looked to her right and saw the mask on her pillow. It was facing the front wall, and it was still face up. Jessica stared at it for a good long 5 minutes, and the only way you could have moved the mask was to pull it from one wall and out, and our mom hadn't been in the room because I was with her in the table. So Jessica got rid of the mask after that. She now has a Joker hanging from the wall, but nothing's happened to that one yet. That's creepy, very creepy. Now there are a lot of different masks. So for instance, some people travel to these exotic locations and stuff, and there's many cultures. There's a mask on the wall behind me that is from Bali. It's a hand carved Bali mask. Made out of wood and stuff, but this one is allegedly supposed to ward off evil spirits. So, but there are some people picking up masks as tourists, and they don't really know what they're buying because they don't really understand the culture and stuff. And people have brought back some real winners as far as the wrong kind of the wrong kind of keepsake to bring home. Some of them have been very tied to like voodoo cultures and dark magic and stuff like that, and so you end up with some really serious problems. There was a what is it, Hauntings in America, that old TV show on Destination America. I think they had an episode where this guy had this African mask that was on the wall. It was from Africa. He went there and did the whole big tour and safari and all that, brought back this mask, and his house just went nuts as soon as he brought it home. And sure enough, once he got rid of the mask, the haunting quit. Now, some people believe that, and I would agree, that objects can certainly contain a presence. It can contain an attachment. And in this case, and in other cases, much like this, it can be from antiques. It doesn't have to be masks. It can be from a secondhand store. It can be from, if you go to the Goodwill and pick stuff up. Sometimes you can bring home something that has an attachment. And the thing is it can come in the form of just bad vibes. It can sometimes come in the form of a very conscious presence that is tied to an object. Most commonly, people always talk about the haunted dolls. And here's the thing, as I understand it, I'm no historian, so I'm just, the little bit of research I've done. The original purpose for dolls was as vessels for the dead. So that was the reason that people made these little doll-like figures, was to house spirits. And and it's also allegedly the reason that the Amish don't allow faces on their dolls, because as soon as it has a face, it can be evil, and they don't want it in their house or in their yard or in their property. It's a really, really taboo thing to have a doll with a face on it in the Amish community. But so of course many kids have dolls, and now granted, 99.999% of those dolls will never be a problem. They'll just be the toy. But it has been a function of some spirits to enter these dolls. The Annabelle doll, for instance, was a Raggedy Ann doll. And it was just this old 70s, 60s, 70s doll that really was evil. How it became evil, I don't know. I don't know the history of all that Annabelle thing. But, it's believed to be one of the most haunted objects in the world. Whether it is or not, I don't know. I can't speak to that, but you got to be careful when you bring things into your home. And so I was just doing emails back and forth with somebody, and I'm sorry if I forgot your name. I do so many messages a day, it's hard to keep up, but was having a discussion about this very topic, about whether objects can carry attachments or can carry presences. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes those presences will just be just kind of a bad feeling, just a bad vibe. So objects absorb energy, and we are energetic beings. We're encased in a body, but if you're in a situation where you're just having a foul deal, you're just arguing all the time, you're just having a real negative situation. Let's say a negative relationship. You are constantly projecting energy into your whole surroundings, into your rooms, into your belongings, and so objects can theoretically store that and have that as part of their makeup. So they would have a real dark cloud in them of being constantly exposed to this negative energies over and over and over extended periods of time. And it can obviously houses we know can absorb energy because there's haunted houses. So I think it's a good idea, if you're ever going out to buy things that may have been pre-owned, to just come up with some basic cleansings that you do before you bring them into your house. I don't know. It certainly doesn't hurt. And doing things with sage, of course, sage is incredibly beneficial anyway, just for knocking down the energy, kind of resetting the energy level. It's supposed to be good at killing bacteria in the air. There's a lot of pluses to sage, and it's just a good all around baseline treatment for things. And you can do sage on objects to push negative energy away from them. But whatever you do, whatever cleansing ritual you have, make sure it aligns with your faith. So if you're a very religious Christian person, use religious Christian methodologies. Holy water, prayer, the Lord's Prayer, reciting, certain psalms or certain things over the item and asking God to cleanse it. And then, whatever you believe, it's important that it resonates with you, because that's where the power comes from, is you are channeling that power of your faith into an object. So just my 2 cents, but I think it's just a good idea. Don't, and again, 99.999% of the time you can bring things in your house and never have an issue. But if you suddenly notice that things are getting weird in your house, one of the first things to look at is, what have I brought in here recently? What did I bring in recently that might have contributed to this or could be the cause of it? So again, the show Haunted Collector with John Zaffis, who is the nephew of Ed and Lorraine Warren, his whole premise was to locate some object that was in the house, which was the focal point for a negative entity. So I don't know. I believe John Zaffis is pretty much the real deal. So while the show may have been edited for effect, I think that the premise is solid. So take it or leave it. Just my 2 cents. But I don't know. You just can't be too careful, can you? Just my thoughts on the topic. So that was about a mask, though. So let's go to the next one. This is North Carolina. And this is, my family and I recently moved to North Carolina. It's only my mom and her fiance, my brother, and me in the house. We moved to a fairly new house that recently has had new landscaping and construction done. And I've noticed that every night at around 12 to 2 a.m., the door in our kitchen swings open. Well, this happens whenever anyone else is in the house is asleep, or everyone else is asleep, or in the back part of the house. And we have no pets, and there are no loose animals in the neighborhood, and there's no plausible reason for the door to open. And no other door in the house has done this. There have also been no deaths reported to happen in or around my home. Plus, all construction to the house has been well done, and the door doesn't open at any other time during the day unless someone opens it. My mom has yet to believe my claim of this happening, because the same door is always closed by the time we wake up. Also, there's no evidence of it being open unless you are near the kitchen when it does, or hear the door creak open at night. We've lived in here for almost a year now, and the door opening started about after a month after we moved in. I don't believe there's anything threatening in the house, but I do wish to know what might be opening the door. I'll read all the suggestions about what this might be. So, yeah, it's kind of curious, because if you don't know, then it can be whatever you want it to be. As long as you don't believe it's evil and you don't know, then you can create some kind of reality in your head to cope with it. But sometimes once you know what it is, maybe you won't be so comfortable, because whatever's doing it might not be what you think. It still doesn't mean it's an evil presence, but it just might make you feel really uncomfortable in your own home. So ignorance can be bliss, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just saying. And just my thoughts. But let's see what's going on in California, which is next. Other than I hear the weather's beautiful there, and I should probably be where the weather isn't cold for the rest of my life. So when I was 7 or 8 years old, my family and I lived in a 3-story mansion in the Midtown Sacramento. Wow. The house was 83 years old at the time, and we lived there, and we'd been willed and had been willed to my grandmother by her best friend, Esther, who died of cancer at the age of 77. Esther was nothing short of a saint, never spoke a bad word about anyone, always saw the bright side of things, always smiling, even when the cancer became so advanced you knew there was no way she wasn't in pain. She died quietly in the blue room, which would later become my mom's room. For the moment we moved into the house, I felt something, like I was never quite alone. Like a lot of young kids, sometimes I'd forget to turn off the lights, close the cabinet doors, etc. After leaving a room, I would remember to turn off the light, but when I turned around, the switch would be off by itself, and the cabinets that I forgot to shut would close by themselves. Our dog sometimes acted strange, but not in a bad way. I'd walk into the living room and she would be on her back on the floor, pumping her leg like she was having a good belly scratched. Or she would stand in one spot sniffing thin air where a shorter person's hand might have been. My parents fought constantly. And after a fight, my dad would leave and my mom would go to bed, leaving my brother and I alone upstairs to deal with their explosive fights ourselves. After a fight, I would hear extremely slow steps coming up the stairs, too slow to be either my able-bodied parents, and my door would open, but when I looked over, there was never anyone there. My windows stayed closed at night, and there was no vents in the room, but I always felt a presence in the room, and despite being upset over my parents' fight, I always managed to fall asleep. To this day, I know it was Esther. She never had any children of her own, hence her estate went to my grandma, and she loved my brother and me as if we were her very own. She hated seeing us upset over anything, and I asked my brother if he ever felt Esther was near, and he said he didn't. But I think he said he didn't because, as an older boy, he felt he shouldn't still believe in ghosts. That's interesting. Like it's just the fancies of a child, huh? Huh. I believe she never touched me because it would have scared me, and I think she stood just near enough to be there for me and console me the only way that she could. And when my parents were too wrapped up in their own business to come upstairs and comfort us, and that's what I believed then, and that's what I'll believe until the day I die. And that's the end of that story. That's a sweet presence. I mean, God, if you could have a mansion and have a loving presence in it, that's awesome. I think that's beautiful. All right, no calls, nothing. Am I missing anything in here? What? Sorry, Brent, but California is real hot right now. I would love real hot right now. You don't understand. I can live perfectly comfortably in air conditioning, knowing that I can go outside if I want to warm up or whatever, but I can't handle going outside and it being so cold that it hurts. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, I would rather sweat than be cold. I mean, seriously. Because you can always go swimming. You can always turn on the air conditioner if you need to cool down. You can always drink something cool. There's lots of ways to mitigate it, but there's only so much you can do when it's cold. You got to cocoon up like an astronaut to go to the store. And it's just like, are you serious? You just want to slap your ancestors and say, why did you guys move on? Continue. Not that my ancestors started blame for this one. They brought me to Minnesota, which was even worse. So this is actually a step up because the winters are much more mild up here in the north tip of Idaho. Believe it or not, we get more snow, but we don't get the 30, 40 below stuff cooking. That's just unreal. That's just inhuman. And I love Minnesota fine, don't get me wrong, but the older I get, the more I don't like winters at all. Not much at all. So I'd just rather be in my shorts and barefoot and a t-shirt, and that would be like my wardrobe 99% of the time. That to me is a happy place. Just a little window into my soul. I don't know if you wanted it or not, but you got it anyway. Because I got the mic. So yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind sweating for the most part. Sorry, throat gurgle. Okay, so this one's California as well. It says, I'm just your average single mom with a son fascinated with ships, and I took him to the Queen Mary for a few days on the way to Catalina Island. He knew the history of the ship, but neither of us at the time knew about the hauntings that are talked about. We were just excited to be on a part of our history. We were just enjoying the old atmosphere, and there was not a lot of people staying on the ship at this time, so we booked the entire floor of second deck, and we were so tired after running all day, I did feel strange at different parts of the ship, almost lightheaded and weak in the knees. I thought the ship moved, but from what the staff said, it doesn't. The first night I had to get up several times because the water in the bathroom kept coming on, and I just figured it was old. But we kept our porthole open to enjoy the sea air, but at least 5 times during the night it would slam shut. Now, remember, it opens in, and it's heavy, so there was no breeze inside the room to close it. And again, I just kept getting up and opening it. About 2 a.m. in the room across from us, in our little hallway, it seemed like a lot of people arrived. I could hear old music and the distinct sound of glasses being clinked together, toasting, and a lot of talking. And whoever they were really enjoying themselves, but they were really loud. So that first night, I didn't get much sleep at all. I went to the front desk the next morning before going to breakfast and asked if we could be moved because we had noisy neighbors, and they looked for a minute and came back and said, "You don't have any neighbors. The closest to you is 5 rooms down." Well, frustrated, I just left and took my son to breakfast. On the tour the next day, as we walked around to different parts of the ship, I'd all of a sudden grab my spindly 10-year-old on the shoulder as if he could hold me up, and I felt weak as a little kitten. My legs had turned to jello, and then it came time to walk across the metal bridge over the boiler room, and I just sat down on the ground in the midst of a crowded tour, and my son came running across the walkway to see if I was okay, and I had to be helped across to the metal walkway. Oh, wow, 2 of them. Oh, thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Justin. Thank you both. Wow, that's amazing. Oh, my God. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. That is so cool. So we'd be walking along the fine and happy, listening and talking, everything in and out of nowhere. And it just went blah. Weak and absolutely had to sit. Well, I justified everything. The ship is old, plumbing's old, the front desk assistant didn't speak English. Well, so maybe she didn't understand me when I told her about our neighbors. But it wasn't until we were leaving and milling about the gift store that I saw a book called The Haunting of the Queen Mary, and started to read a few stories that the hair on my arm stood up. I was glad we were leaving, because if I had known beforehand, I certainly would not have been so calm and matter-of-fact about things. My son had a great time, and aside from a few odd things, so did I. But weird things did happen, and I'm sure continue to happen even now. Happy haunting. Huh. The Queen Mary's a really famous ship, too. Very, very famous. That is just so cool, guys. Thank you so much. Justin and Justin. Oh, it's Justin. Both of you are... I don't know what I read before, but Justin gave twice. So thank you, brother. I appreciate that so much. That's amazing. Wow. It's just really cool. Really, really cool. That goes a long way to help us with the show, and thank you. It's mostly the shows are a labor of love, you know. It's not like we're making much of anything doing them, but it's the gift of so many of you guys that have, you know, gone above and beyond to help us however you can, and it means the world. And sometimes it's just word of mouth. I mean, just being here is a big help. It's just awesome to look up and see, you know, so many people here listening and taking part in the shows. I forgot to scroll, didn't I? Was there a message with any of those? No. Okay. Gotcha. It says, the first one says $2, and then it says 30 in the comments. And then the second one is 30. That's cool, man. That's very cool. That's outstanding. Love, 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 man. Just lots of love. Okay, I got a bunch more stories here, so I'm going to entertain you, damn it. That's what I'm here for. And the phone lines are open again, 720-923-0500 if you have an account of your own that you'd like to share or something. But if you'd rather not be on the air, I understand. If you want to just email into the show, you can do that. The email is paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. Again, paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. So, outstanding. You're surprised I don't have more subs. Well, you know, Scowling Wolf, I appreciate that. It's growing. It really is. It's been growing. I guess it's really exponentially. Like the first 1,000 subs took forever. It really took forever. And then, it's every time the number grows, the amount that our subs raises grows really well too. We've never paid for advertising for the show, and I guess we've had some help from people like Duke. His channel's much bigger than ours, and he's always been helping steer people here. Wes Germer and Tony Merkel have been real great. Tracy Arnold's been great. Got a lot of people that have really spread the word and really brought us a lot more attention than we ever would have had. But I guess we've never done anything extraordinary to promote it, but I really appreciate that. I think that's a wonderful compliment. And thank you for being here. Power suggestion, call Brent now. It's okay. I mean, the phones are here if somebody wants to use them. I'm fine just reading stories too if you guys wanted to kick back and relax. Enjoy the last day of your weekend, after all. New York is next, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what's going on there. I'm back. What? The hell is this? It has to do with the chain letter. I hate those chain letters. I am the death of all chains. Anytime somebody sends me anything that's, pass this on or blah, 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 I am the death of all of them. If you want something perpetuated, don't send it to me because it's going to end with me. I will kill the chain. It says, I'm back. I got a chain letter. And if you don't know what that is, then chain letter is when you get a text message or a mail or an email and it says you will die tomorrow at 12, or when you go to sleep, or any time unless you don't send this to any number that's on the paper, or some other type to go and send it. Well, I got one the other day, and at 11:59 p.m. I was supposed to die. I was up doing an awake thing where you and a few friends text or talk and call to see if the others are up, like me and my best friend and his sister, who's nice. And as I was talking, and at 11:30, I felt deep sorrow in my room, like depression. But I was talking to them, and they would switch the phone entry time. Time one and another was supposed to do a trick, and on their video game. I don't know what that means. At 11:45, they were messing. It says messing me. I think messaging is what he meant. Saying I was, messing with him. Saying I was going to die in a few minutes, and they were all like, it's 11:59, you're about to die. And, well, I didn't die, but I lost the bet. But at about 2 a.m., I was talking to him, and I got a terrible stomach ache and was having trouble breathing. So I went to open the door in my room, and I went back to sit on my bed and talk. The door shut, and I was scared. I said to myself, it did it on accident and shut the door too hard, and it whipped back. But I know it was not me because I did it slow to see if anyone was at the door, but of course not. At 2:30, the stomach ache was bad, and I was getting dizzy, and I passed out on the phone when me and my friends were talking, but I was back in no time. He was surprised because I never pass out, even in the worst heat, when I'm out walking for hours to get to his house, and it's about 2.5 miles away, but I love to run. I smile in school when we were about to do the mile run, and that's some work for a lot of the kids in my gym class. But besides the point at 3 a.m., I was hurting, and then I passed out while when I hung up to go to the bathroom. I just blacked out, and when I woke up, my foot hurt like crazy. All the blood went to it, and it was heavy and was bad, and there were 3 cuts on my knee and 2 on my foot and a bad blood blister on my toe that I can't move right now, and it hurts. And if you've gotten one and tried to cut it with toenail clippers, then and you go too far down, that really hurts. I don't know what to make of this one. I don't know. This is a little silly stuff, I think. I mean, the power of suggestion is powerful. It really is. There's, to certain individuals, and there are some people that are extraordinarily superstitious. And if they didn't do those things, they probably would die because they'd convince themselves that they were going to die until they actually died. It's just some people are really, they're really susceptible to such things like that. But I'm definitely not one of them. I won't die 1 minute before I'm supposed to. That's just the way it is. All right, so this one's coming from New Jersey. I live on the East Coast in New Jersey, and I've never experienced anything paranormal before this night. I was lying in my bed watching TV at around 11 p.m. in my room alone. And I was just about to fall asleep when I heard thumping coming from inside my wall. Well, I dismissed it and just fell asleep. I woke up at night to find something whispering, "Let me out, please." I got so freaked out that I ran outside and I wouldn't go back inside for the next day. I put a cross up and then I felt calm sleeping in my room again. But it wasn't over yet. The next night, I know something was whispering from somewhere in my room. With great bravery, I got up and ran out of my room. All the time, something was whispering, "No escape, no escape, no escape." One more thing happened after that. There was still that horrible, scary thumping. Well, I attempted to exercise my home, but it wouldn't leave. Then the next night, I heard glug, 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 glug. And I left my room immediately, only to find myself on the edge of insanity. And then I thought of some things that would stop this noise once and for all. So one night, with a cross and a Bible, I yelled, "You are set free from this world." Then a moan came, then a scream, and then a cry. Nothing happened after that, and if anyone has a similar experience or has an answer to what this thing is, please tell me. Thanks for reading. I don't know. It's kind of not resonating with me. I'm not saying it couldn't be true, but it seems very disjointed for an actual account. But then again, some people just aren't very good authors. So it could be just this person's ability to explain the situation is not very incredible, or it could be just it's made up. I'm not really feeling that one, though. So for me, not so much. This is New Jersey again. This one's a little bit longer. How much time do we have? We must have a bunch of time left, right? Let's see. Yeah, we're doing good. We're doing really good. Okay. So this is New Jersey. It says the basement split up into two large rooms. It's not that dark down there, but it's pretty cold. Danny and I were halfway across the first room when, from the corner of my eye, I see a bag with something in it land on the bottom step with a loud boom. Well, we both screamed, and Danny asked, "What was that?" And I said it was a bag. Missy must have thrown it down from the top step to freak us out, but when I checked the top stairs, she wasn't there. We continued into the second room to get with the games from the shelf. Oh yeah, I was joking around because there was a white sheet hanging up. And as we were getting the game, we heard 3 loud stomps from up above. That startled us, but we figured it had to be Missy. We ran out of the basement pretty fast. Of course, I was making sounds and still recording, but honestly, we were both creeped out. Then we go to where Missy is on the computer and accuse or ask her about the bag throwing and the stomping, and she swore up and down, side to side, that she did not do it. Plus, she asked why would she do it in the first place. She'd have to walk. And I was still recording at this time. I don't know what that means. The computer was in the room on the other side of the house, and the basement wasn't under it. And this was a legitimate reason. I and Danny both looked at each other like, what the hell? This is really weird. Back at home a few weeks later, I came home. I decided to load the video into my computer, and that's when I heard something interesting. I had my headphones on, and in the video, as I was turning from the last step, I heard a male voice say, And I know what you're thinking, that is stupid. Well, it's not. I played it over and over again to make sure it wasn't just imagining the voice, and I still heard it. I thought possibly it was a moan from the steps, but the steps only made cracking noises and not moans. My voice is deep, but not like that, and I know I didn't say it for a fact. Right after you hear it, I talk. Not to mention it was only us girls in the house, not including the one male cat and dog. Maybe it was one of those things you can only record on a video or a recorder. I know this might sound stupid, but I wouldn't have spent the time to type it if it didn't have an effect on me. I still wonder about it. Please, if anyone has an explanation, let me know. I don't know. Again, I always wonder about people asking for advice on these stories that are just little peaks. I mean, who can draw any distinctions from that, really? You got to really have a better understanding of the house, of the situation. Is there a history there? Is there, is there any other activity before and after this? Or is it just a one-off kind of event? There's so many questions I would have before I could render any kind of opinion. But, even then, is it real? I mean, every story I read, you guys, is represented as real. I don't bring in stories that I believe are false. They're all from supposedly credible sources. So, I'm not bringing you in a bunch of creative writing from Reddit or something like that. It's all allegedly true stories. Now, I don't believe for a minute everything I read on here is real, but at least they're represented as such. Here's an interesting one. It says, let's see, this is coming from West Virginia. This is a true story, and I think it was a demon, and it killed my grandma. Oh, that's a rough start. One day I was home alone, and I lived with my grandparents, and my grandpa was talking to my grandma, taking my grandmother to the doctor. I was on the computer, and I heard someone open the door. It was locked, but I thought it was just my aunt, Sherry, because she has a key. I then realized she was at work, so it couldn't be her. I went to the door to see who it was, and I saw this black thing right in front of me. It was shaped like a person, but it didn't have a face or anything. This thing was so tall, it was all the way up to the ceiling. 10 days later, I was home alone again, and my grandpa was still in the hospital. My Aunt Nikki came with her kids, and she drove us to the hospital. Then my Uncle David took me into the little church that they have in every hospital, and he told me that my grandmother had died in her sleep. I remembered the shadow person I saw. Well, I figured out it was a demon, and I'm not sure, but I think that thing was what killed my grandmother. This all happened this June, and if you can help me figure out this whole thing, I would really like it. Huh. So I don't know. I mean, certainly that's unusual. Thank you, Weird Desk. Weird Desk says that they've heard that if the people that hit the like button on the Paranormal Portal get fewer chain letters in their lifetime. I imagine there's probably been quite a discussion about chain letters. I hate those damn things. I do. It's like, I don't even, as soon as I realize it's a chain letter, I just quit reading and delete. I'm done. So I will end all chains. I will break all chains. What can I say? I'm a rebel. All right, so I don't know if a demon killed the grandma or not. I think that it's certainly a coincidence that something showed up, but I don't know the condition of grandma. I don't know what was going on with her health. For all we know, she was terminal. There's just no way to know for sure, but I don't know that. I mean, it's certainly, I guess, possible, but I don't know. It didn't seem likely to me when I was reading it. But I understand people jump to those kind of conclusions pretty quickly. It's certainly an unusual experience, but who knows? All right, so this one's coming from Washington, which is right next door to me here. It says, I was at home last night with my 2 children, and I put them to bed and watched television for a while, and after quite some time of staying up later, I decided it was time for me to go to bed. My husband was out with his friends, and when he's gone, I always seem to hear more noises, and it seems like I'm always awakened out of sound sleep to get up and investigate a noise. Well, last night it was around 1 a.m. I was lying in bed fast asleep and felt someone watching me. When I opened my eyes, I saw a faint light floating above my bed going away from me, and I also have a small Yorkie who lies right next to me in bed, and she had started growling and barking at this light, so I sat up real quick to see if somehow it was one of my kids or some light from a car, but it wasn't reflecting off of anything. It was floating between my bed and the ceiling. I turned to grab my phone real quick. It was the only light I had next to me, and when I turned around, it was gone. So I jumped up and turned on my bathroom light in the bathroom and looked under my bed and in my room for someone and didn't see anything. I went and checked on the kids, and they were asleep in their beds. I went back in my room and just felt a little scared. I'd seen this light before, but never really chalked it up to anything more than just my husband turning on some lights in the kitchen, or me just imagining something that I saw on my TV. It was very strange, though, and that my dog was staring at it, barking and growling, and so I kept my bathroom light on and finally fell back asleep. Needless to say, I'm very tired this morning. That is wild. Those darn little lights. The minion. He's always loudest when I'm doing a show, of course. That's about perfect. All right, let's go to Texas. See what's going on there. This didn't happen to me, but happened to my dad, and he still can't explain it to this day. I have 2 older siblings, including a brother that is 5 years older than me. When my brother Billy was 14 or 15, he was on a swim team at the high school, and he's had a best friend, Dusty, whom he'd been best friends with since they were babies. Our parents and his parents were also really good friends, and our dads worked together. These 2, however, were inseparable. If you ever couldn't find one of them, your first thought was to figure out where the other one was. My family was driving home one night from a swim meet that my brother was in, and he was on the bus driving home as well, but Dusty was not a swimmer and was at home. A man that my dad worked with called our car phone. This is before cell phones. And the conversation soon became very sad, and you could tell that my dad had become very, very upset over something. I was in the back seat with my sister watching as my mom continually asked him, What? What is it? What happened? After he hangs up, he tells us that Dusty had hanged himself and had died. It was a very sad time, and that is, as I'm sure you can imagine, but I will never forget hearing my brother's cries when they told him and when we met him at school to take him home. A few weeks later, after things sort of calmed down, my dad is laying in bed about to fall asleep, and the phone next to his bed rings, and he picks it up. Dusty continually called our house asking for Billy. My dad immediately recognized his voice as his. The conversation, as best as I can remember, went something like this. Is Billy there? No, he's not here right now. Dusty, is that you? Is he okay? Yeah, he's doing all right. And that would be the end of it. My dad is a huge skeptic and wouldn't make up a story like this. He swears to this day that it was Dusty that called him that night. That is so cool. Those stories are so powerful. I've not experienced that, and I don't imagine very many people have. I think as far as paranormal phenomena, the ghost phone calls are probably among the most rare, but what an incredible demonstration of, I don't know what to say there. I guess what an incredible demonstration of a potential connection. Again, I think spirits are energetic, and so as energetic beings, they can, manipulate other energetic things probably quite easily. We, of course, hear about lights going on and off, TVs on and off, radios, cars, etc., etc. When it comes to electrical devices, the spirits don't seem to have much problem, in influencing them. But to actually generate a phone call and to generate a conversation after that, to me is just nothing short of incredible. It's something we've heard of several times doing the show, but again, I would just imagine what that would feel like. What conversation could you have? It doesn't sound like that they're able to hold this kind of connection for very long. Just a couple of sentences at best. I've not heard of any going on for any significant amount of time. But I think there was one where this husband and wife, they're elderly. The wife had deceased, and she had become deceased, and the elderly husband still lived there, and she really took care of this house, and something was wrong in the house, and apparently she had from the grave had made arrangements for somebody to come over and fix something that needed to be fixed. And I think it was a furnace or something that would have become deadly. And the guy, when he showed up and said, well, I talked to your wife, a few times, and she, said your furnace was acting up, and, and the guy's like, my wife passed away, blah blah blah, before this, and there was no way that she could have made that connection, but she did. So it does come up. Very bizarre stuff, very cool stuff, but what is possible, ladies and gentlemen? That's what I always wonder. What is really possible? What are we missing? What do we not understand about all this? Because it seems like we don't have to necessarily be apart from those that pass on, that there might be a way that we could actually have communication. And maybe it's just in our hearts. Maybe that's all we can hope for. But these demonstrations definitely prove that there's some ability to continue to reach into our world and let us know that they love us and that we're, they're with us. I just think that is so powerful. Wow. You can't explain that away. I mean, you can. Of course, many people could, but many people would dismiss it outright. But what if it is real? Out of all those stories, what if only one of them is real? If it is, if only one of them that we've covered is real, that deals with ghost phone calls, only one out of the hundreds that we've covered, if only one of them is real, then that's still a hell of a phenomena. And that's demonstrating something absolutely amazing, miraculous. So take it or leave it, but that's my position on it. I just think that there's so much we don't understand. I think we got a time for a very quick one. Let me see if I can find a quick one for you. Oh, I just got an idea. Okay. I got to record a podcast after this show, so I just got an idea. I've got an idea. This one is what we're going to read. This will be the last story for tonight, ladies and gentlemen, but this is coming from Ohio, which is funny because Ohio is probably the most popular state for paranormal activity in the entire U.S. It's Ohio, maybe a second with California, but Ohio just comes up all the time. So when I was about 5 or 6, I just started taking showers instead of baths, and like a big girl, as my parents put it. Well, I was thrilled. I mean, come on. I was in the first grade already, and it was time for the next step. Well, one glorious Memorial Day weekend, I believe, it was Sunday, I was showering up, singing along with my music in my head, and suddenly the shower air got real cold, and I'm talking below zero here. And as I looked out the clear shower curtain to see who was in there, who in their right mind opened the door while I was taking a hot shower, I saw something coming out of the ceiling. The only thing I can really remember about this person was from the ceiling was that they had piercing blue eyes and brilliant fiery red hair. And I also remember this vision in my mind's eye of someone sitting at a card table with papers thrown askew, just lying there sleeping. Oh, and I remember screaming bloody murder. Later the next day, I found out why this happened. Afterwards, my mother questioned me to find out what had happened, keeping her concerns to herself, and she sent me to bed with reassurances that I'd be safe in my room. The next day, as I got up hoping what had happened the night before was just a very bad dream, well, not only was it not a bad dream, it was the start of a horrid nightmare. At about 11 o'clock in the next morning, my mother received a phone call from a funeral director telling her that her father had died the night before from heart complications. My mother was devastated. After making all these arrangements for a private funeral, she sat me down to talk, and this is what she told me. The woman I saw the night before was my great-grandmother, Wilda, telling me I described her exactly, that her coming to me meant that she was warning me of my grandfather dying. Now, being 5 or 6 at the time, this didn't help me understand at all, but after that I never wanted to enter the bathroom again, but eventually did to shower and go to the bathroom. Well, there you have it. Wow. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like that is going to wrap up our journey through the Paranormal Portal bedtime stories for the evening. I hope you enjoyed it. Special thanks again to Justin. Thank you so much, brother. That means the world. That's awesome. So I appreciate it very, very much. And thank you all for being here and being such amazing, friendly, and wonderful people supporting the the dream of the paranormal portal, and spread the word, please. Let people know about it, and see if you know people that love the paranormal. Maybe they'll like it too. It means a lot to us because as it grows, so too grows the ability of what we can do. So we have a lot of plans, a lot of ideas, and things that we want to bring into fruition. So, but anyway, guys, I guess that's going to wrap it up for me. You guys have a wonderful day tomorrow. Remember, project Monday as the wonderful day. Put it in your head. That's your intention. Tomorrow's going to be brilliant. It's going to be an amazing day. Just wait. You'll see. And maybe it will be. But that's it for me tonight. I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. I'll be back tomorrow night with some more bedtime stories, guys. So have a great Monday, and I'll meet you back here at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 7 days a week, right here on our YouTube channel. There's always a live portal happening. So until then, guys, take care, and I'll be waiting for you. Good night.